One day during a Steam sale a while ago, I was looking through the hundreds of games, wanting to buy something but not sure exactly what. I came up with a steampunk game that, by its description, promised, quote, open environments, frenetic combat, daredevil acrobatics, and high-octane vehicle-based stunts, end quote. Yet the reviews were mostly negative, citing many different reasons of why the game wasn't worth it. Well, I bought it anyway, and today I'm here to tell you if the game is worth the current asking price of $10. Damnation is a steampunk action game. Sometimes the action is questionable, but I don't want to get ahead of myself, so I'll touch on that later. You play as a dude named Hamilton Rourke, who is in the middle of some sort of war between a small rebel group that is unnamed and some force called the Prescott Standard Industries, or PSI, led by an evil man named Prescott. Rourke's girl was kidnapped and he wants her back, so he'll stop at nothing to find her and destroy PSI. The opening cutscene you get doesn't really describe any of this, so unless you really pay attention to the dialogue in the other scenes, or check out the manual, you may have no idea what's actually happening. Even so, the opening cutscene is fairly cool, with some mysterious ninja dudes slashing away at a rebel army. Too bad the rest of the game isn't as sweet as the opening cutscene, but once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hamilton has to run, climb, jump, and shoot through about a dozen stages to find his girl and take down Prescott. I'd say this isn't easy, but to be honest, it actually kind of is. I guess I should stop trying to go around it and just start digging into the game mechanics. For one, there is a good mix of shooting, parkour, and driving sections. Usually you'll do about 3 or 4 shooting and parkour sections to one driving area, but even so, they're mixed together so that it doesn't entirely feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again. I'll start with the platforming parts. Although it feels like every game wants in at these types of gameplay mechanics, the climbing in this game is actually fairly simple to perform. You press the spacebar to jump and to climb ledges. If you want to drop from a ledge, you press C, which doubles as the crouch key. To hop over a ledge or from it, you hold down shift when pressing space. That's all you really need. As I said, it's a very simple system to learn, and one you'll get used to very quickly, because you'll be doing it a lot. Although there aren't a lot of puzzles in the game, there is one dealing with a water system that you'll have to be pretty efficient at climbing. This is until the end of the game, so at least you'll be able to get a lot of practice first. Next, the driving. As I said, you won't be doing a ton of this, but every once in a while you'll reach one of 2 varieties of speed bikes. Both of them function exactly the same. The normal movement key steer and the spacebar gives you a turbo boost. If you have someone on the back of the bike, they can freely shoot while you're driving. Otherwise, you can't attack anything other than running them over. But that's not a huge problem because you'll never be in a situation where you're forced to take out enemy soldiers while driving to proceed. Usually, these bike sections are implemented just to give you something to do, as it's mainly just driving from point A to point B, occasionally hitting ramps to dodge cliff sides and running over or dodging enemies. And that's it. If these sections were left out of the game, it wouldn't have really been any sort of missed feature. It's not really flawed, just something I don't think was really necessary. And now we get to the combat, which just so happens to be one of the more talk-worthy parts of the game. There's a lot to discuss, so take a seat, get comfy. This may take a while. Alright, first off, the enemies are your standard army soldiers that want to stop the rebel force. At least, that's one faction that's firing at you. Later on in the game, you enter a village named Terra Verde, where one of your partners, a man by the name of Zagato, comes from. Early in the game, the protagonist bitched to Zagato that Terra Verde wasn't helping with the invasion, and you come to find out that this is because they have a sworn neutrality on the war. This stands even as the bastards are getting invaded by the PSI. In any case, you enter the village to meet up with the governor, and of course, in addition to fighting PSI troops, the Terra Verde army decides to turn on you. What the shit? Why? You're never told. You'll just be minding your business, trying to save them and shoot the PSI guys, and bam! Other guns are turned on you. Never in the game is this explained. Maybe the programmers didn't know how to program friendly AI? Not a chance, because throughout the game, you do get partners that will attempt to assist you by shooting enemy soldiers. I'll talk about your partners quick. They change based on what stage you're in, but their objective is the same. Pretend to shoot at enemies and then tell you that they're right behind you. They almost never hit anything, and won't seem to be the arch enemies that need to be destroyed by gunfire. The only reason I was glad that they were around is because there are no objective markers anywhere. So oftentimes you'll have to search for them and see where you're supposed to go next, because it's not always obvious. At least you have this. To help you with it, you have what's called Spirit Vision. This is given you early in the game by a seer named Akahando. By holding down Z, the game will highlight all enemies in red silhouettes and allies in blue. You can also use the Spirit Vision to remotely revive one of your teammates. You can do this from anywhere on the map. You will notice that when all enemies in a certain area are dead, any fallen comrades immediately revive. So sometimes I wondered, what's the point of needing revivals? I don't think you get a game over if you let them lay there in their own blood. Back to Spirit Vision. Sometimes when using it, you may realize that your partner that was standing right behind you a second ago is now at the far end of the map, just waiting for you. This happens a lot, actually. Sometimes you'll see your partner actually climbing to their current standing point, while other times, you'll know there is no freaking way they traveled that quickly without simply teleporting. Programming laziness? I really don't know. Truth be told, you probably won't use a spear mode often. Sure, it does help when you're being shot at somewhere but you're not entirely where the enemy is, but that's about it. You never really need to think about tactics because this isn't that kind of game. This is a game where you point and shoot without regard. And if you think enemies are hard to see, well, you shouldn't, because there's a strange aura around each of them. It's like they were drawn with a heavy white outline, just so you know that these guys are the ones to shoot. Plus, their AI isn't much better than your partner's. Sure, they'll hit their mark frequently enough that you'll probably have to duck behind a wall to recover. But there are other times where they will just stand there looking at you. Seriously. There were many battles in the game where I entered the area, shot a few of the hostile ones, and then was just able to pick off the rest with my pistol. The enemy AI is just simply that inconsistent. Enemies are also complete bullet sponges. They'll take 2 sniper blasts, several shotgun shots, or about half a clip of machine gun fire before even thinking about dropping. In fact, the only way that I know of to kill an enemy in one quick attack is a shot to the head with the sniper rifle. This makes some battles infuriating because you'll be wasting your ammo trying to kill someone and constantly have to reload. Not to mention ammo, although fairly plentiful, cannot be carried in bulk. It always feels like you're just running low, and with the amount of bullets it takes to kill one soldier, the maximum that you can carry really should have been at least doubled. There's also some strange awkwardness with some of the weapons. For one, the melee attacks and grenades are fairly useless. Sure, you can swing your fist, but it doesn't do enough damage to an enemy, or even stun them long enough for you to get a blast in. Second, the grenades, or trip mines as they're called in the game, can be either thrown as a grenade, which can be detonated quickly by pressing Q again, or set as a proximity mine. Honestly, it's rare that I use them. The targeting is awkward, and I feel like they never landed where I intended them to. The only time that they were useful was when fighting the Automen, as they're called, which are just robots with rocket launchers. They can only be destroyed by blowing up the tank on its back, so the grenades, if you're lucky, can strike it. Or you can just do what I did all the time and just get to higher ground and snipe the fucker until he's dead. Your choice. So how about those weapons? They are very limited in variety, and other than the pistol and sniper rifle, they all suck. You have a crappy machine gun that is incredibly inaccurate and does little damage. I already told you that it takes about half a clip at minimum to kill anyone. You have your pistol, which is good to use, but takes forever to reload. The sniper rifle is extremely limited in ammo, but awesome because it's the only thing that can take out enemies in one quick kill. You can get a shotgun, which seems to be way too underpowered to bother with. There's some sort of automatic pistol, which fires about 10 shots in a row each time you click. Waste of ammo. There's another pistol that you can charge up, but ammo seems to be so rare that I never really bothered with it. There's also a grenade launcher, which killed me once when using it, so I said fuck that. I literally went through about 95% of the game with the pistol, machine gun, and sniper rifle. Fuck variety. To sum up the weapons, most of them just blow. Oh, and reloading? You can't just be running around and press R to reload. Instead, you have to hold down the right click to start aiming and then press R. Pressing R without being in this combat mode does nothing. Again, what the shit? Why do I have to press this extra mouse button? Why do I need to be aiming? This is another design choice that irritated me throughout the game. Damnation isn't entirely difficult, but you will die, and that's where you start to realize that the checkpoints are somewhat infrequent. Sometimes you'll get one immediately after a battle, but other times you may have to go through multiple gunfights just to reach a save. You cannot save manually. In addition, you can only die by gunfire. If you fall too far, the game will instead turn blue and you'll just teleport back to where you jumped from. This makes no sense. Supposedly it's because of this spirit power, but you don't have it at the beginning of the game and the same thing happens. So really, what's the reasoning to this? And why protect you against falls and not bullets? I don't get it. The graphics are a mixed bag. They do have that cool steampunk effect to them, and buildings all around are falling apart, allowing you to easily climb them. The environments are also massive, showing the entire landscape even though you might not have access to it. You see areas that you need to get to eventually, but it may take about 10 to 15 minutes. I guess what I'm saying is that the draw distance is incredible. Yet there are also times where the colors are just way too dulled out. You fight too much in caverns and sewers, where everything is the same color. If I had to constantly fight outside in areas like this, I would have been perfectly happy with the graphics of the game. But instead, near the end of the game, you're in constant sewers and factories. Blah. There's also some awful voice acting. Some of the characters aren't too bad, but others, like Zagato, are cringeworthy. Sure, I've definitely heard worse, but I've also heard a lot better. You're also forced to listen to Prescott constantly give out propaganda through speakers on walls. I didn't realize that you can shoot them at first, so I was listening to the same 2 or 3 lines over and over and fucking over. Once I figured out that I could destroy them, by accident no less, I was more than happy to sacrifice a few bullets to that cause. The game can also be fairly buggy. I've already mentioned how the enemy AI sucks ass at times. In addition, you never want to jump somewhere that you're not meant to be, otherwise something like this may happen. If you get stuck in this fashion, you have no option but to load your last checkpoint. There's no way around it. Same goes if you get your speed bike stuck in an area. You can get off, but you can't hit the bike loose or anything like that. Back to your previous checkpoint with you. You'll also get some unusual loading areas. You may be in the middle of a fight and see a loading screen just suddenly pop up and then die a second later because, well, you're in the middle of a fucking gunfight. There was even a time where I jumped on a zipline, fell to the platform, had to freaking load, and then dropped dead because I couldn't react fast enough to the damn sniper on another section. That's just unexcusable. Don't put your loading points where there's an ambush waiting for you. That's just a dick move. There's also tips that come up, but even though most of them go away after a few seconds or after you clear the area that you're required to use that tip, I have had an instance where the tip wouldn't go away. Sure, I could have kept playing with it on the screen, but that shit's distracting. I had to quit the game completely and then reload it. Just plain bullshit with that. Oh, and I almost forgot about the bosses. There's only a few of them, but all of them are fairly simple. You have a chick on a Gatling gun. All you have to do is climb to a certain point and have it fall on her. You have to fight an android chick. And the final boss, Prescott, is challenging at first only because you'll have to figure out how to kill his armor. But once that's done, his final form is a pathetic shooting section where you just run around popping him. And that's it. There's really no challenge for Prescott after his armor is destroyed. I want to talk about Steam's description of the game. I'll give you a second to read it. Okay, time's up. Let me break this down a little bit. Unique and an exhilarating combination of fluid action and combat? Okay, sure, the game was pretty smooth, I'll give it that. Action and combat? Well, the only action was the combat, so yeah, I guess okay. Huge open environments? Yeah, but you can't exactly reach all of said environments. It looks nice, but it's not, I don't know if I would consider them open. Frenetic combat? Well, not really unless you count chasing enemies with a machine gun yelling at them to fucking die already frenetic. Daredevil acrobatics? I haven't considered anything about what Rourke does Daredevil acrobatics, because to me, acrobatics usually means that you're fairly graceful. Rourke has no grace. High-octane vehicle-based stunts? High-octane, yes. Stunts? Am I playing the same game? Intense tends to reflexes, quick thinking, rapid-fire conflict? I didn't realize I was playing fucking Tetris. So now to the bullet points. Choose your own paths and navigate the world by performing daredevil feats on the edge of human ability. Well, yeah, sure, you can choose how to get to your endpoint in an area, but that's literally just choosing whether you want to climb a wall that's falling apart or in a frickin' ladder. Intelligent enemies? Okay, I can't continue with that one without laughing. Up to 3 hours of actual gameplay per level? What the fuck were these guys smoking? I beat the game in 4 fucking hours. What the hell were they doing, examining every pixel to see if there's hidden porn in the walls? How the fuck do you get 3 hours out of one level? Unique vehicles from motorbikes to mobile artillery? Well, yeah, you can rotate this cannon to blow some stuff up, but it doesn't actually move. It just rotates. I don't know if I'd consider that a vehicle, and I wouldn't consider any of them unique. I mean, that stuff's been seen a million times in other games. And as for multiplayer, I didn't even bother testing that, as I doubt it's still running. So in a nutshell, this description has got to be for a version of the game I did not buy. In closing, I guess I can sum up Damnation by saying it's a boring steampunk Uncharted wannabe. You'll be doing a lot more platforming than combat, but I'm not sure that's a bad thing. Sure, the vehicle sections aren't horrible, and can be fairly fun once you start hitting all the jumps, but it's still not enough to make this game anything above par. If you really like steampunk games, then I guess I'd say give this one a shot, but I can't really recommend it. There's just so much better out there on the market. As I said, it's not bad, but it's not exactly great either. It's just on the good side of mediocre. Final score? 6 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.